December 10, 1939. The forests of Tolvajärvi, eastern Finland. The temperature is 25 degrees below zero. It is a cold so deep it feels like burning. Ivan, a conscript in the Soviet 718th Rifle Regiment, is stumbling through the waist-deep snow. He hasn't felt his toes in 3 days. He hasn't had a hot meal in 5. His uniform is thin cotton, brown and useless against the white hell of the Finnish winter. He is part of a massive invading force, the mighty Red Army, sent to crush tiny Finland in 2 weeks. On paper, this battle is already over. The Soviets have more men, more tanks, more guns. That night, Ivan's unit does the impossible. They flank the Finnish lines. They smash through the defenses near a frozen lake. The road to the Finnish rear is open. If they keep moving, they can encircle the enemy, cut off their supply lines, and win the Battle of Tolvajärvi right there. The Finnish commanders are in panic. Colonel Paavo Pahari, the Finnish leader, realizes his line has broken. He is scrambling to find reserves, pulling clerks and cooks out of tents, handing them rifles. It looks like the end. But then the Soviet advance suddenly stops. Not because of enemy fire, not because of a minefield. They stop because of a smell. As Ivan and his starving comrades overrun the Finnish supply tents, the air fills with the thick, heavy scent of pork fat, onions, and potatoes. Steam is rising from the massive iron-field kitchens the retreating Finns left behind. Inside those pots is hot sausage soup. Ivan looks at his officer. The officer is shouting, waving his pistol, ordering them to press the attack. Forward, for the motherland! But Ivan doesn't hear him. He only sees the steam. The discipline of the 718th Regiment, a unit that had marched hundreds of miles and braved machine gun fire, evaporates in seconds. They are not soldiers anymore. They are starving men. They drop their rifles. They ignore the shouting officers. They dive into the tents. Ivan burns his hands scooping soup directly from the cauldron. It is the best thing he has ever tasted. For a moment, the war doesn't exist. There is only the warmth spreading through his chest. Hundreds of Soviet soldiers are doing the same, cramming sausages into their pockets, eating with their bare hands, laughing, crying. They believe they have won. They believe the prize for their victory is dinner. But Colonel Pahari is watching. He receives a report that the enemy has stalled. He doesn't know why, but he knows this is his only chance. He gathers his motley crew, cooks, signalmen, headquarters staff. He tells them, "They are distracted. We hit them now. Hard." What follows is one of the most brutal close-quarters engagements of the Winter War. The Finns emerge from the tree line like ghosts on skis. They find the enemy not in defensive positions, but huddled around soup pots, their weapons leaning against trees. The slaughter is immediate. Ivan looks up from his bowl, his face smeared with grease, just as a bayonet comes through the tent flap. The sausage war isn't a battle, it's a massacre. The chaos is total. Soviet soldiers are trying to fight back, but their hands are slippery with fat, their reactions slowed by the heavy meal and the sudden shock. The Finns fight with a cold, desperate fury. They reclaim the tents, they reclaim the road, they reclaim the soup. By morning, the snow around the field kitchens is stained red. Hundreds of Soviet bodies lie frozen in grotesque positions, some still clutching pieces of sausage. The 718th Regiment is effectively destroyed. The breakthrough that could have won the battle, perhaps even changed the war, was defeated by a few hundred liters of soup. The Battle of Tolvajärvi becomes the first major Finnish victory of the war. It boosts morale across the entire nation. It proves the Red Army can be beaten. But for the men who buried the dead, the lesson was darker. When the Finns checked the bodies, they found men wearing summer tunics. They found bread pouches filled with sawdust. They found a superpower that treated its soldiers like ammunition, expendable, cheap, and easily replaced. The tragedy of the sausage war isn't that men died for food. It's that they were kept so hungry, so cold, and so miserable by their own leaders that a hot meal meant more to them than their own lives. Years later, a Finnish veteran recalled that night. He didn't speak of glory. He spoke of the silence after the shooting stopped. We hated them, he said. They were the invader, but when we saw them lying there, dead with food in their mouths, we didn't hate them anymore. We just pitied them. Ivan died in the snow, thousands of miles from home, for a bowl of soup. History books talk about tactics, flanking maneuvers, and logistics. But sometimes the outcome of a war turns on the most basic human need of all. You can command a man to march into fire. You can command him to kill. But you cannot command a starving man to ignore the smell of dinner. The Sausage War stands as a grim reminder to every commander. An army marches on its stomach. And if you hollow out your soldiers' humanity, if you strip them of their basic needs, they will eventually stop fighting you and start fighting for their own survival, even if that survival is just one last warm meal.